Um, I don't have a whole ton on the agenda here. My time, admittedly, has been like a little bit consumed by getting ready to go to Argentina for media party next week. Actually, leave on Tuesday, and there's there's like almost a day and a half of travel on each end of this thing. I forgot how far away Argentina is. And then we're also kind of behind the scenes working on with the Online News Association folks, which that's the separate conference in September in Los Angeles. We get an entire virtual booth. We don't have an in-person presence beyond our one session. We don't get a table or a booth or anything on the ground in Los Angeles. What they do instead is set up a pretty involved virtual booth, which we can have like up to 5 videos, and they're actually helping us produce one of the videos. And so we had earlier today, we had a recording session where we were on StreamYard with the ONA editor, and then actually just recording to camera some bits about like explaining Web3 and JournoDAO that'll go into this explainer video that will then be like the centerpiece of our virtual booth for the Online News Association Conference 2022. And so today, I recorded a little intro. John and Keith today explained some kind of aspects of Web3, and then I think Spencer and Crystal are on deck for tomorrow. So it went really well to answer the question, Spencer. She had us at the end basically interview. Well, basically Eureka John basically interviewed Keith. And we got, did like an episode of his show almost. And so I think we got a ton of really good stuff out of that. What'd you think, Keith?
Think about what now?
About our recording session an hour ago. Spencer was asking how it wrapped up.
Oh, I think Eureka John saved my butt, but yeah, I think it went. We got the good content out, even though it was squeezing water from a rock for me. Yeah, it's funny how my brain just shuts down unless I'm like asked a question. I can't just like start talking about like a topic. It's like weird.
I mean, I actually thought it was going fine. I don't necessarily know that a technique to make a person less nervous is to tell them that they're nervous. But just having done a lot of interviews, that was not a tactic I would have used. But yeah, it was cool to have John jump in, and we got our own like personal version of Eureka Street. So that was cool.
But it's funny, like I stopped being nervous about this stuff, and now I'm just annoyed with like my brain and the way it works or doesn't work sometimes, where it's just like, I don't know. It's not going to do the things you want it to do in certain situations.
Well, welcome to your 40s.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like totally just owning it.
Yeah, I have the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely found like in the last 5 or 10 years, like, oh, I have to proofread myself a lot more. Like I have a lot more typos, and yeah, so enjoy it, Spencer. Before we let Keith do a demo, I'll maybe just continue the update on what's going on with these conferences. So like over the last week, I've started to get a lot of stuff thrown at me about what's happening in Argentina next week. So just to update folks on that, like there's an actual schedule now, and there's so much. there's two JournoDAO sessions, and then there is like kind of a table session where in between all of the keynotes on Thursday and Friday. The conference is Thursday through Saturday of next week, by the way. And so on Thursday, during the first day's keynotes in the afternoon, there's about an hour and a half period where there's, in kind of the main lobby area as people are going in and out of the keynotes, They've got just an area set up with, they invited 50 organizations to have tables set up there to, do kind of the networking and mingling and informative thing. Of which I kind of balked at setting that up for a while until they told me I really should, just because I don't know what we have there. And they're like, well, you just set up set up some business cards and a laptop. And I was like, you folks haven't seen my laptop, but I took this laptop skiing, and so it's like all broken on the screen and stuff. So I don't know if I can even. It's not a very. I don't have much presentable for our organization here. So what I'm getting at is, it looks like Thursday I will be just kind of hanging out to kick things off and talking to people at a table, answering questions. Crystal had the great idea of just getting some laminated QR codes and other things that I can point people to. So I'll be working on that. I don't know how valuable business cards are, but I might get some of those made. And I would be open to other suggestions for that hour and a half, which to some extent is like kind of my personal nightmare. I kind of hate like mingling events, but when I have something to talk about, it might be okay. So that's Thursday. Friday, there's a 20-minute keynote that I hope you got my message, Crystal, but I finally went through the deck that you revised and put together for me, which is just incredible and amazing. Like almost made me cry, because I've been kind of stressed out about getting some of this stuff together, because it's a lot for 1 week. So really appreciate that, and that looks incredible, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of mileage out of it at this event and at future events. So that is that's a 20-minute keynote Friday at like 10:30, and then there is an hour-long workshop later Friday afternoon, which is an opportunity to basically just teach people, a couple dozen people, kind of the basics of Web3, like everything from setting up a MetaMask to what an NFT is, and then we could walk through minting maybe a mirror NFT, playing with Voucher if that's a possibility, playing with the some Journo tokens if that's a possibility. So we have like an hour to just demo cool stuff for people that just want to learn, actually onboard people to Web3 IRL in real time. I did ask about the possibility of having a few people zoom in so we could kind of have a live, like me there in person, and then say like Crystal and Keith up on a screen on Zoom, and they strongly discourage that, mainly for connectivity. It sounds like connectivity is not going to be good. This place is it's kind of like a warehouse space that's been turned into an art space. I mean, it looks cool, but it's also very industrial, and definitely does not look super Wi-Fi friendly. So that's that. So yeah,
get you like travel insurance, Eric?
What's that?
We need to get you travel insurance.
Like no joke, it's
you inform the embassy down there or something.
No, they sent me an email and it's actually required. They're like, you have to get travel insurance, and they had some plans lined up, but there is some, and I think this is actually tied more to COVID than anything. But I am actually required to get travel insurance to go to the event, which is that's a first. I've never heard that.
It's probably fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, I'm sure it's fine.
It'll be fun.
This, Argentina's always been stable, right?
Yeah.
But so yeah, so that's basically what we're looking at is, or I'm looking at, I guess, the table, short keynote, which isn't really a keynote, and workshop, and then some sort of mentoring at a hackathon on Saturday. I might,
and don't bother this area because I'm cleaning up.
Okay. And so that is a media party for next week, just to fill everyone in. If anyone's got any suggestions for me on things to have available for the tabling part, or anything else, let me know. And so that's kind of the main updates, I think, that I had. Oh, by the way, I did starting to post the kind of list of, not necessarily an agenda, but a list of discussion points for these here meetings. Here is what I put together 5 minutes before this call, right here on the forum, if anyone wants to follow along. So yeah, that's what I got for the events coming up, and that's kind of been what's occupying my time. And so, yeah, if anyone has any questions, shoot. Otherwise, maybe I'll hand it over to Keith to talk Journo token. Did we lose Keith?
Anyone?
I have
Okay.
a question. Is Bitcoin Beach in Argentina?
I think that's El Salvador, right?
El Salvador? Okay, I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, I don't, and this conference is actually, it's not a crypto conference. It's put on by a group called Hacks and Hackers, and they've been doing this conference for about 10 years in Argentina. And Hacks and Hackers is kind of it's a group of like tech folks who work in media. And what's funny is this conference is largely funded by Web2. So there's like a big Google and Meta / Facebook presence there, which is interesting because there's a lot of criticism of those companies in my talk. But there's starting up a kind of a Web3 component to this media tech conference for the very first time, and Decentraland is sponsoring us and that part of the conference, along with the International Center for Journalism. And so I've been put in touch with there's a guy from North Carolina that's going for Decentraland. It seems cool. We've connected a little bit. So there's going to be a little bit of like some other Web3 folks there, but mostly it's going to be more like Web2 media outlets and quite a few journalists from Latin America.
Have fun.
Yeah, you might be surprised. Everybody's talking about the metaverse, so.
Yeah, right. I'm looking forward to I'm kind of looking forward to seeing like what the takes are of Web3, because you can never really predict it, I feel like.
I don't know if you've read the article. I think I read it in LinkedIn that Meta budgeted 10 billion to integrate with Web3, and the main thing is they're trying to find out how they can still be Web2 and make it look like they're Web3. So you might just find that out over there.
That is my read on it as well, I think.
And they're willing to light billions of dollars on fire to figure out that you can't do it.
You might have to lay the truth on them.
I mean, if you're sponsoring the event, though, I'd go a little easy.
I'm not saying to do it on the beginning, maybe by the back.
On your way out, yeah.
Yeah, everyone will be on their best behavior.
Hey, sorry, do you mind if we bump the demo until later? I'm expecting a handoff of
Oh yeah,
my child's to another childcare person in just a minute. I bet it'll happen right as I start the demo. So,
okay.
if we can just do some of the later stuff, and then once that's done, I can do the demo.
Sure. Yeah, so one other thing that I was looking at is Jennifer posted a lot of great stuff in Discord earlier this week for potential places for a meetup in LA after the ONA conference in September, which was awesome. Did you want to go over that? Is there anything to add to that, Jennifer? Or do you want to just kind of review what some of those spots are, maybe what your favorite is?
Actually, I was just looking at a couple different things that. Have you guys ever heard of? Oh shoot, I just lost my track. Sorry, just hold on real quick. Let me look at the side events. Yeah, I mean, essentially, I'm just looking at like how we can do a meetup at one of the local bars, but I feel like there's I'm just like it's LA Tech Week this week, so it's like jam packed with events right now, and I'm just looking at all the ones that are downtown LA that already have a presence that could be even a possible nice partnership fit with us as well because um, people are used to going to those places for media and like Web3. So this is kind of what I'm looking at the moment. Um, but otherwise, like the library bar is a nice one. It's very cozy and small, as well as I'm just looking at now, as well as there's a place that I think you guys might find very interesting. It's right above. It's called Broken Shaker, but it's right above Freehand. Freehand is this great bookstore and cafe, and it's like actually this incredible bookstore downtown. And they also have like places to stay, so it's kind of like this work hub. And so it's a rooftop place, and it's just like trendy and cool. And I thought that that would be kind of a nice little home base so that if anybody wants to meet down at the cafe in Freehand or the bookstore, I mean, it falls in the lines with journalism. So anyway, that's like my first pick. It's a 10-minute walk from the place, but also they have organized happy hours already. So we don't really want to compete with those. Wednesday and Saturday, the last day is Saturday. And so I think Friday might even be the best bet or so. So yeah, I will I'll keep on that. But I don't know if you guys really need much more other than like this is a good meeting place. We just write up an event, an Eventbrite, and then generate the meetup.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
I like that idea. Yeah.
Do you think we need to do anything in terms of like, getting in touch to reserve a space or like any protocols like that?
Well, I mean, it's if we do it on a Friday or do it on a Friday night or something, yeah. I mean, obviously there'll be reserving a space comes with I'll do it, but like it comes with a cost, right? Like
Mhm.
to segue a space, you have to do a certain spend. We don't really want to do that. So I'm looking at places that have a bigger space so that if we do congregate, it's not going to be like the library is so super small that we're going to be packed. We're going to be standing and packed. So yeah, I was just kind of looking at some other options. And as well as I'll come back to you on some of the downtown LA event spaces that are really hosting a lot of Web3 stuff because people will be really familiar with those already. And they're on my like events list for this week. So I'll come back with like, I don't know. There's a lot of people I'm meeting that it could be a nice fit. There's like, I think a DAO would be a really nice, some supporting DAOs would be a really nice fit as well. Yeah, so I can just drum that up and republish in the event space. I don't have it prepared.
Cool. Hey, Crystal, I'm just wondering, have the Focher guys, have you had any conversations with them about if they plan to be in LA for that week?
I don't think so. I know they're trying to get something together to get to MCon. I have talked to them about putting their stuff in the decks to present and talking about Focher to demo with journalists and stuff at ONA and at Media Party. So they've been sending some stuff over for that. But I don't know if they're gonna. I mean, I guess maybe they could fly out. Because they're not going to be able to go into the event though, right? Unless they bought a ticket.
Right, yeah, I mean, right, because the time to do like any sponsorship stuff is already passed as well.
Yeah. I think they'll probably, if they, because they're still waiting on stuff from investors too. So I think they'll probably put their resources towards MCon just because it's in the ecosystem.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think about Factland, Keith? Do you think any of those folks will be down there?
Yeah, I think Evan's gonna go at least, and since I'll be there, I think we should, start talking about that. I thought, didn't we talk about having something like printable that we can put up at whatever space we're at with like the founder logos so far? Yeah, Evan will be
that's the kind of thing where I'm like, if we're putting something up, then it like feels like we're probably gonna have to have like some kind of a reservation of the space, right?
JournoDAO stickers in the bar bathrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we probably should just lock this down in the next week. Really, just create the Eventbrite and fill in the blanks, just to get it out there. So I'll definitely make sure that we have a space at least for 15 people, like 20 people, hopefully more. But
Do you know if Keith, you know if like Evan is going to the actual conference?
I'll ask. I think that was his plan, but yeah, I'll make sure.
But he's definitely gonna be in Los Angeles either way, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. See, one other thing for tomorrow, did we have Crystal, was there something that you wanted to line up for the Twitter space for tomorrow? I can't remember if that was something we were talking about for this week, and like my brain hasn't like gone in that direction like at all until today. Any
We
thoughts
did
on-
talk about something. What was it?
I think was
Obviously, it
Choice
didn't.
DAO.
Okay, yeah, no, I haven't. There was
Okay.
something else. Oh, yeah, art and activism. That was something that maybe we could breach, but no, I have nothing prepared for tomorrow. I got nothing.
I mean, I was thinking about expanding that into just the problem of discoverability.
That's right.
And like getting people, like we talk about how, people can make a living off of their 100 true fans now, since we've removed all the costly intermediaries. But how do you find your 100 true fans? Like, I don't think, there's probably people working on it, but it hasn't been part of the discussions that I've been a part of, and it doesn't really seem to be getting that much attention. So I think we could, I don't know, discuss it, maybe see if anybody has any tools that they use, or talk about what it should look like in the future as far as like using your own algorithms to crawl public data, try and find people who'd be interested in your stuff. How do you get promoted? How do you get into people's like curated playlists of of content creators? I don't know, that stuff I find really interesting and pretty open-ended.
Is this in the vein of what Crystal and I were talking about in one of the text channels, where we were saying how if Chainverse or some similar social graph develops in such a way that could be a way for discovering similarly minded people just through connections?
Yeah, I don't know if this was in directly relation to that, but that's definitely like Chainverse could do that. Like, I think we also have somebody I just met with DJ yesterday, who I think is in the Discord, and he works on wallet analytics and like finding like if people are in your DAO and their wallet addresses, like maybe you can find other DAOs that they're in and like find overlap that way. Oh, I think somebody's here. I'm gonna step away.
There's some like really cool data analysis that we've seen done with like the chainverse data. Like one really cool thing from a few months ago that I really liked was basically you taking like the kind of like snapshot data that I think Keith is talking about, and then you can kind of like group like certain types of certain DAOs together, where there's like, okay, there's this group over here that has like a high amount of interaction. Like there's a lot of like cross-pollination between these DAOs. It could be like, you know, the same people are voting in these DAOs, and it's kind of it's interesting. What it presents is basically kind of like a group of like Web3 cliques almost, and you can like see it like it's like, oh yeah, okay, this is the meta cartel group, okay, and it's interesting. It surfaces like new like interactions that maybe you didn't see. It then also like confirms, you know, things that I think we've all observed. So like I think like that kind of analysis would be pretty interesting for the kind of like discoverability stuff that we're talking about. However, like I haven't yet seen like an actual like user interface for this. Like the analysis seems like it took a fair amount of heavy lifting to produce, and like I haven't, like I know that Diamond DAO is working on this, and we had a conversation like earlier this week, but like I don't know any place where you just like go and like plug this data in and surface these you know insights at all. But I mean,
deep DAO, that's the place.
Deep DAO, yeah. Well, does it show the like you know, the kind of associations that we're talking about?
To a certain extent it does. I think it's going to get better over time. Right now, if you go to the people section on Deep DAO, or if you go to the community section, you can look at either individual DAOs and then look at who's voting or who's delegating votes to whom. You can also look at who's voting on proposals that coincide with each other to find trends where there's like voting blocks that are kind of undeclared. So if you have like 10 accounts that are all voting yes on 8 different proposals in one DAO and 3 proposals in another DAO, it'll actually show you. So you can get an idea of like, you know, who's got how much influence in each community and how they're kind of using that influence to cross-pollinate whatever business stuff is going on there. And it'll also profile people and their activity within each DAO based on their token holdings and voting participation. It's not very sophisticated yet, but you can pair that with stuff like Twitter to get like a fuller take on individual people.
That's interesting because with the NFT photography space, you can see what Eric just described, the click aspect, without the wallet data graphing component to support that assumption. But you can just see that it's basically like high school again. And at some point, we are going to have to address this when we're bringing journalists into this space to begin, you know, selling their content or however they decide to use their content to create revenue. You know, the market either has to expand or we have to figure out a way to break into the market without having to have that high school click structure. That seems to be the main way that a lot of this NFT art moves.
You know, I think there's, I don't know if we have Keith back, but I think there's like some interesting room for, you know, the Journo token to be like a way to kind of begin building this kind of like network graph for, you know, journalists and other online creators. Cause, you know, everything that we're looking at now, it's like all tied to snapshot votes or, you know, NFT transactions and other like transactions on chain. So it's all either about governance or investments, basically. So like if the Journo token can be the layer that's kind of built on top of that, that is, you know, more of like the kind of credential layer that, you know, we've talked about. I think that becomes a pretty interesting use case for it. And of course,
even having at some point, like if we have the bandwidth as we evolve, you know, have more PR people that are in the DAO, because that is a natural, you correlation with journalists as that PR perspective. If you have people in the DAO that have that PR background, they could also, we could have bounties or something where they can help promote the journalists with those journo tokens to then get them out and help break through that bubble of the click itself, like on crypto Twitter or wherever else, it all evolves into. But to have people within the DAO that can promote journalists associated with the DAO so that their work gets more exposure than just one person tweeting about it.
Hey, all back. Sorry, took longer than I thought.
We were just talking about you. We're talking about the the potential of the journo token is like to create a sort of network graph that maybe we could like surface some sort of credentialing from, or other ways to tie it to some sort of PR push to get more exposure and discoverability to journalists.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be some kind of signal. We can only hypothesize about all the ways it could be used. At least, I just hope people actually do use it. So I'm ready, but it says I can't share my screen. Eric, you might need to.
Okay. I think it might make you. Okay, I made your co-host.
Okay. Alrighty. You see the top journo holders on my browser?
You're just racking up those tokens, aren't you? I see you.
Yeah. Oh, so
All in on JournoDAO.
it did seem a bit gauche, but I'm leaving it like that so I can test the burn mechanism, and then I promise I will burn myself down the leaderboard. Yes, this is live right now. Journo-token.vercel.app. I'll post it in the chat if I can find it. So there's two main things right now. This is just like a aforementioned leaderboard based on balance. And then I need feedback on, what exactly this does or how it looks. And then this is like a really quick, sloppy link that you can, once you're on the leaderboard, or it'll show this link associated with your name, you can choose what that is. And then you got your Twitter handle here. And so what do y'all want to see first, the giving side or the claiming side? I guess giving is where it all starts. So we have a little blurb here, and then actually, Eric, if you're up for it, I could send you some, and then you could
you could
the
wallet you have for me is compromised. It could be interesting to see what happens to it.
No. Do you have a new one set up yet?
Yeah.
Or Crystal, I'll send one. You can do both.
Does it have to have that USD on there?
What do you mean? Oh, no. Hey.
No, the only reason why is because just like thinking ahead of regulation stuff, like once you establish you're paying somebody something with USD, it gets, do you know what I mean? I'm always thinking about that.
Yeah, you'll see when you punch in let's see, when you punch in an amount, it'll.
Yeah, not important, but just always protecting that.
So this is totally arbitrary, but I've just decided for the sake of moving forward that $1 would be 10 journo tokens. Open to feedback. It's just kind of boring if it's 1-to-1, and 100 makes the numbers too big. So I just not too big, but they're a little ridiculous. And so, yeah, this is all done via Twitter now, but you know, looking forward to adding other platforms that you can look people up on, like Reddit or Facebook or something. And then, so when you give, then bring up the Stripe stuff. And if you want to test this, you can just do 4.2 again and again is like the Stripe test. There's different numbers for you to test. Like this one will give you like a successful transaction, but other ones will give you like different errors and stuff, just so the developer can test things out. And then you can put in any valid number for this stuff. Okay. See success, you sent 500 journo. Just pulling in the Twitter stuff here. Should be able to view the receipt. See right now, we're using my Yachtcopter Stripe integration. So once we get the JournoDAO one going, it'll say JournoDAO here. Oops. Click that, go see the journalist, and then give more, whatever. Then, so the broken part now is that I set up a journo bot who should tweet out at the person you just sent to, but it's not. So like a tweet would show up here at mentioning Crystal, and then she would click through and do the claiming side. Crystal, I don't know if you want to try that live or if you're in a screen sharing situation, but
I can't screen share because I'm on my iPad mini, but I'm logged in now and I'll walk through and see if I can claim it.
all right, let's see if your number go up.
Hold on, I'm lost.
I'll sign in as
Oh, there it is.
oh, I'm signed in here.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I just claimed it.
Okay.
It says check your journal claims as Crystal D Street. It doesn't look like anyone has sent you journal yet.
Yeah, so there's no success screen, but that basically means that it went through and now there's no more to claim. So is this you right here? Address ending in BDE.
Yeah, I think that is me. Yep, that's me.
Moving up, you just bumped Eureka John.
Nice. Sorry, John.
Yeah.
I can't remember, is this on mainnet?
No, it's the Optimism testnet Gorley.
Oh, that's right.
However
Okay.
you say that. And yeah, so Stripe is on test and the token is on test, but I don't know, it's, as far as I can tell, it's ready to go. That most of the bugs and stuff are just on like the interface side, and so you can
I'm wondering about the way that this is set up, if there's any way to not just have utility for possessing journo, but if there's a way to add utility to.
Oh, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hi, Mr. Micah. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up? Oh, are you talking to
Yeah,
someone
this
else?
is Farad, the student doctor.
Mike, I think you're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's any way to have utility added to like like token velocity or something, but is this the one that isn't transferable beyond the initial send?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is, the web app basically just sits on your successful purchase token from Stripe, and then remembers the Twitter account and the amount. And then when that Twitter account comes and verifies that they own the Twitter account and the wallet, then the tokens are minted. So the tokens don't actually exist until like the claim, and then the claiming actually mints the tokens and delivers them to the address, and then there's no transferring after that. So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
So then the only like sending will be the initial sending to like I guess like some JournoDAO account will be choosing journalists to send this to.
Yeah, and then technically you send the tokens to a burn address, and that's the way that you burn them. So that'll be available. And then should probably leave like the transfer, make it able, the smart contract owner or the smart contract to transfer tokens, just in case, like, I don't know, the DAO needs to like vote, and once it's behind a multi-sig, like move tokens around for some yet unforeseen reason.
I mean, to Jennifer's point earlier about having dollar value displayed, I think having these be non-transferable, at least in my mind, like precludes any qualification as securities, which I think that's a good move if we're being considerate there. There's like, if you can't even sell these anyway, and that almost then the dollar value is kind of irrelevant, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is mostly just like, we could signal this better, but this is like a donation to JournoDAO, like the JournoDAO treasury in fiat. So think of it as a donation rather than like a purchase, because we're just like providing the service of the Journo token.
So someone would be able to buy the Journo token from the JournoDAO treasury and then choose what journalist to send it to, and then from there it wouldn't, I mean, not actually send, but like say I wanted to, like would I buy Journo token from JournoDAO, and then it wouldn't exist, but then upon my designating who to send it to, that amount that I purchased would be minted?
Well, even at that point, it wouldn't. It would really just be like if it was claimed by the person, because it needs a wallet to go to, right? And so I intend to add like the ability to send to a wallet directly. But since most of us don't deal in like journalists' wallets, it's like much easier to like target a Twitter handle. Then it, we need the person who owns the Twitter account to come and verify that they own the wallet and the Twitter account in order to like actually send them. So it doesn't really, there's no reason really for the person making the donation to like actually have custody of the tokens at any point, because it's just, I don't know, just
Like they'd be buying or like donating to JournoDAO to get these tokens just to use as like gestures for people whose content they support. That's like the reason, or that's what they would do with the Journo tokens that they get after donating to JournoDAO. I just think like the component there that I wasn't aware of before is that JournoDAO, the treasury, is going to be getting some kind of revenue from the generation of Journo token.
Yeah, well, that's how it's set up right now. I mean, this is like totally, everything's up for debate, but the idea is that, JournoDAO is a public good. This money would go to benefit Journo token holders, and, resources and all that stuff. It would go to like, maintain the leaderboard of which, the Journo token holders benefit and whatever. So it's like, I guess you have to be on board a little bit with like the JournoDAO mission for this to be appealing. Like if it's not really agnostic at this point, and so maybe that's a problem. But we could also, appify this so that if people don't want to support the JournoDAO token, then they can, set this up for themselves, like with a different token or whatever. And then this would be specifically kind of like, I'm supporting this journalist and I'm supporting JournoDAO at the same time, like donating to the treasury to give that. And it, the treasury partially goes to support like the infrastructure around the Journo token. Like it's not free to mint, it's not free to do any of this stuff. So it's kind of like, you're donating to maintain like the thing.
One other utility that I think would work how it's currently set up is like a utility for possessing Journo token is exposure on this leaderboard, right? Like in principle, it could increase exposure for some piece of content that you'd author, or at least maybe for the author or the writer journalist themselves, but maybe there's some way that can translate to just increased exposure for them. It's like their own content creator, or maybe even for particular pieces of content.
Mm-hmm. And so one thing that's kind of not really prevalent, and I'm still working on it, is like once you're logged in with your wallet, then you can go to your profile here, and then this is where you can put in your link that shows up on the leaderboard. So if you are on the leaderboard, and Crystal, I don't know if you can try this now, but I think me and John are the only people who have touched this, so it might break. But if you put in your link, it should show up on the leaderboard.
I just had a question about the treasury. Who's going to sort of control those funds? Is there going to be any interaction, like a voting process of any kind for the NFT holders, or how do you envision that working?
Yeah, through just general DAO governance, I was thinking, which we're like in the process of both creating our voting platform, and let me just sign in with the right account, and also attaching our treasury to a multi-sig, neither of which we've done, but is like in the, we're intending to do it. We're kind of embracing the fact that we've heard a lot of feedback from people who started DAOs early and tried to like decentralize too soon, that, trying to put everything up to community vote and input and decision really like blocked them from doing the things that they needed to do. So I think we're just trying to, balance that as much as we can. And that definitely like a factor to that is hearing from the community, like, I definitely want to say in this, and or this isn't fair, like definitely. Sorry, Jennifer, I just showed your email for a sec, but
I don't care.
okay. But yeah, this is definitely a prototype, but this is the voting platform that can either go through now or demo a different time. But yeah, the idea is that the people in the DAO who are trusted to run finances in the treasury would be delegated to, and then they get to make decisions about what happens with the treasury. And at any time, you can go and like pull your delegation from somebody if they start doing something that you don't like, and that would diminish their voting power.
I mean, one thing sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
One thing I wanted to clarify with tokens is that the Journo token we're talking about here and the founder NFT, my understanding is that those are both distinct from the eventual like normal member token. Is that, or either of these going to entail governance rights?
No, you're right. So there's now we're talking about 3 tokens that are all scoped to their own use case. So the Journo token is just the use case that we talked about. Journo holders as of now like get no other benefits other than being on the leaderboard, and nor do we have any plans at this point to give them any benefits. But then the founder NFT can be purchased. It's 2 ETH at the moment. And those funds go into the JournoDAO treasury. And those are people who, love what we're doing and actually want to give us the resources to execute on some of this stuff. And so therefore are like 1,000 true believers and people that the DAO decides like should be founder NFT holders. We're loosely said 200 in reserve to gift, and then 800 to sell and mint. And then when the voting platform launches, it will have a separate token that is like governance, perhaps like Journo, or somebody made the joke of decentralized journalism as DiGiorno. And I can't think of a better term, so I guess it's DiGiorno. And but yeah, that's all TBD. But then those governance tokens will be non-transferable as well, so it'll just be a one-way. It'll be very similar to the Journo token in that like you go and you claim, and you have to do these certain steps in order to claim them, and they don't exist until you claim them. But then once claimed, they give you voting power instead of, Journo that doesn't, because they reflect completely different things. So like your amount of the governance token is determined by like an inter-DAO process of people saying how much work you did, or however. You could use Coordinate, you could just have a call and say like, you get this percent, you get this percent. It's kind of like, and the voting platform's ambivalent of that, but then once you kind of have a percentage distribution of what all the members should get, then you come to the voting platform and it generates the tokens to be claimed, and then people can come and claim their portion of whatever you allot for the month or week or whatever you want to do.
To what Ryan was bringing up, we haven't put all that in writing in one place, right? I mean, we've talked about it for months now about that structure for the governance tokens, but I don't know that it's like, in writing, in something that can, eventually when we get to the point of like adopting something like an actual proposal. Something. Yeah. I mean, it might be worth as people have the bandwidth, starting some sort of like a governance working group just to start putting things in writing.
I mean, like one quick thought to recap some of this, or at least offer a potential recap, is once we have this, the actual member token, the non-transferable one that would allow this kind of governance delegation, which I think this kind of liquid delegation structure could really work in a way that doesn't just paralyze us being too decentralized. Maybe until that exists, we can just have some preliminary or interim treasury board or steering committee or something. And then when the member token is there, then we can just do something, all right, the 5 biggest delegates within some period of time are like the acting steering committee or something.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I mean, so we busted out the bureaus not too long ago, and so that was kind of like, as Eric said, kind of like the smallest amount of structure to kind of unlock some growth and clarity, which I think is good. And as part of that, I think we had the finance bureau, which I think we kind of talked about being in charge of the treasury, but maybe we should have a governance specific.
I mean, there is an old tokenization and governance channel on Discord that probably should just be moved up to a bureau or something.
Mhm.
What if the eventual member token lets you delegate once per bureau or something? So you can delegate for, if there's 5 different bureaus, you'd have 5 different opportunities to delegate for some council or board or steering committee within a given bureau. And it wouldn't just be for like one like treasury management thing. Because maybe each bureau would have its own multi-sig at some point. Or
Like,
there'd be like a federated
guild,
structure of
kinda
them.
like, yeah, the guild model.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and actually, that's a way that we could use the voting platform as is, because you can delegate based on like what I was thinking was category, but that could just be like, in our case, a bureau. So then we would just have the bureaus, and you could delegate to, oh, see John, I you could delegate to like this person and this person for, finance bureau stuff or whatever. And then, so we could adapt what I have right now pretty easily to that.
So once the the Journo token thing is fully functional, I suppose we need to like airdrop like 20,000 Journo tokens to our founder NFT holders, probably, right?
Yeah, I think airdrop would be cool. And then I think a monthly like allotment would be cool as well. Just yeah, I think
Just to clarify, when we're talking about airdropping the founder NFT token holders, it means we're giving them some allowance of JournoDAO tokens to send, or Journo token to send to journalists at their discretion.
yeah, I guess technically it wouldn't be an airdrop then, because it wouldn't actually reside in their wallets, but they could yeah, it'd be more like
It's like an
allotment.
appropriation.
Yeah,
Like
they can mint this amount.
So just so I understand, so okay, like if you want to, somebody sends journal tokens to a journalist, we send it to Crystal's Twitter profile, and then so the mechanism would be that that Twitter bot tweets and tags Crystal, and then is the claim link also in the tweet that the bot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's how that connection is made.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you think this would be stable enough to demo to people on the other side of the world in a week and a half?
I think so. I mean, it can do what we just showed, and then I think I can fix the Journo bot before then.
You're
I mean, I
also
think
opening up a can of worms there.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean,
you're gonna start having DAO conversations, like, why are you doing that? What are you doing? Are you starting a company? Like, it just gets into like a whole nother. But it's really cool. I'm just making notes.
my thought was that it could be just a cool thing to do for like an intro to Web3, like just literally for a workshop, like walking through like, okay, this is how we set up a new network in your MetaMask. This is how you receive something. This is like the absolute like intro to like MetaMask. Basically, it's like something to do with the MetaMask for that workshop is what I was thinking.
Yeah, like ETH Denver dropped everybody a Spork tokens and stuff for them
Right.
to spend on whatever. That was a bit, yeah, in the test net or something like that.
And then there was something for food trucks that never appeared.
Oh no, I used it.
Oh, they were real. Okay, I missed them.
Yeah.
I think I just saw those Spork tokens somewhere in one of my wallets. I was like, where the hell did that come from?
It's in your test net. It's in like, it's not in your, yeah, so that's from.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go in a minute because I don't actually usually can go to past into the hour and a half. I can usually do an hour, but I will look at all the notes that you guys have. I saw like that you were looking for some things as well, and I'll deliver those by the end of the day, by the end of the night. So, I look to follow. I look forward to following this sort of token journey. My alarm bells always go off when there is anything that has to do with the transferring of coins or money, because obviously, you know, even though it's not actually happening, like you always have to prove that, right? So I'm just like gonna always err on the side of caution, but I'm not gonna be a Debbie Downer either. So
I think that's totally the right instinct to have. I mean, we're in this
Yeah.
like total gray area in certain respects. But I mean, I do think like what we're talking about with these things being non-transferable, I'd imagine that would make us pretty safe, but it's still best to have that kind of caution, right?
oh well, it's thoughtful. I think this is the space, like if you're gonna do anything, this is the group to do it with. It's a thoughtful group about like all this setup. But to Eric's point, probably a good idea to figure out the governance so that everybody's covered.
Mhm.
All right.
Well, no, thanks for bringing that up, and you're a key part of it too. So I think, you know, you're enacting that thoughtfulness right now. It does have us, you know, playing in a new space, and people are not going to immediately understand that it's not transferable, like, and so there is going to be a lot of just misunderstanding, even if we're all legit, like as far as what it actually does. It's like the perception part to like deal with.
Yeah, say there's no like, oh, we have to be taxed on that, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I'm finally onboarded with my client after 3 weeks, so I can dive back in, just putting a couple hours a week at least. But thanks for just letting me hang in there.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Keith, on that Journo bot, we might want to also have a link maybe in the bio there, that if somebody's like, why is somebody sending me a link right now that's going to make me connect my wallet? Maybe put a link in the bio on the Journo bot that goes to
Yeah.
like a blog page that explains exactly what this is, and maybe like a video demo. Because
Mhm.
if a bot sent me a link and said, hey, go get your token, I would absolutely block it.
Definitely.
So yeah, especially if I didn't know what, like if I knew it was coming, yeah, but if I didn't know what this was, I would block
No,
that.
I'm not excited about that part. So if you have any like ideas about how we can reach people better or whatever, but I don't know. It's like this was just the closest path to like doing the kind of the end-to-end thing. So
I like the concept. I think it just needs, if a random, like if we hand these to the founders and they start sending it to random journalists, the random journalist is going to need to know, oh, what the hell is this? And it sees JournoBot, it might be, you know,
no, you're
curious
spot on.
enough to click to the bio
Yeah.
and then look for it.
Yeah, on that point, I was thinking that if this is presented to a bunch of people, we should have it written out very clearly how this works. And for example, I'm not even clear exactly, because it's like it was stated that it's a 1 to 10 pegged to the dollar, but then you said let's airdrop a bunch to the NFT holders. So it's like who has the power to generate these? How many can be generated? Sort of like all those sort of questions I feel like need to be answered.
Yeah, so it's really just it's kind of a fiction where there's the donation that doesn't really have anything to do with the token, and then we're just JournoDAO is the thing, like, okay, you donated this and now we're going to mint these tokens for you to this address, and so we're going to pay the minting fees, like we're going to make that happen. So it's maybe it's presented too much as like a purchase, because it's not really that, even though like it kind of has like the end result feels like that. It's really like, I want to send this person this much journo, and so I'm going to pay JournoDAO to do that for me.
So
it's limitless, like there's no cap on it at this point, and it's just as many as people want to put up.
Okay, so I think that makes total sense. It just needs to be written down, and the language needs to be a little cleaner. But yeah,
agree.
and then I think it's pretty cool.
And I think that also clarifies something for me too. So it's like these, by making a donation of a certain amount, I am now able, I don't get Journo token. I'm able to mint Journo token by sending them to journalists that I respect or that are willing to accept. And I think that also clears up the $10 arbitrary value here as being what the donation correspondency would be, and that doesn't translate to fair market value because these can't be transferred, but it's like the donation cost, I guess, but it doesn't mean fair market value. I don't know how that. I personally, I'm not too worried about the securities question anymore, but it could be something to consider, just to be cautious, as Jennifer was saying.
Yeah, and I think like confusion can like cause a lot of damage, even if it's not actually how people perceive it. So I think, yeah, we should definitely team up on it. And I'm kind of relying on the community to make sure that language is clear and everything. I can do my best, but since I'm biased because I see how it all works on the back end or whatever, so I might gloss over something. But yeah, even just making it clear that it's like, the smart contract that JournoDAO runs that does the minting, like you're really like, as the donator, you're really not connected to the infrastructure at all. Like all you've done is like generate a payment confirmation for JournoDAO to look at and be like, okay, mint these tokens here, mint these tokens here, mint these tokens here.
I'm curious if anyone knows, is there any project that's tried to do something similar to this, just so we can maybe try to see if we're sort of missing anything?
Like other projects that have these kind of point tokens that don't have market value. I mean, there could be.
Yeah, I'm basically just curious, like, is there any project that has tried to do exactly what we're trying to do, or has tried to do something similar, and how did it work out is basically my question.
And the closest thing I can think of is, Mirror, like the way Mirror started was they had this thing called the right race where people who already had a Mirror token, they were able to vote on who else should get a Mirror token. And then like the top 10 people in voting every week, then they got airdropped a Mirror token, and all that Mirror token was good for was you could go and burn it in exchange for a Mirror publication with your own subdomain. So like by design, like that was the only thing it could be used for. It had no monetary value. So it's like it's different, but the token was treated this kind of the same.
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons why this might be the only thing like this. And first of all, we came to it organically, just being like, oh, we should have this, and then we should have this, and then how would that actually work? And then the non-transferable token, just kind of iterating on that for a while. But then also I think since you do need to integrate with like Stripe and manage like fiat and have like a traditional bank account, so like people who are all into like Web3 and want to do everything decentralized might not have considered this flow because they don't really want to set that up or whatever.
A bankful approach.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little Web 2.5.
I mean, I didn't know about the Mirror token utility about burning it to mint an article. That could be something we could learn from for this.
It was actually to get your own Mirror site. Like
oh, okay.
It only lasted for like 6 months, and then they and then they switched to like a different model, and then after that they did the writing NFTs.
Yeah, you burn the token to get your subdomain. So that's the only way you get your official subdomain on your.
That's interesting. I mean, we could do something like that where, and that could be a way to have utility for the non-transferable journo token, and it could be a way to have some of the supply leave circulation, even though if there won't be any secondary markets, then like supply cap economics ceases to kind of be the question. But like if we need some reason to get journo out of circulation, burning 100 journo to get like a JournoDAO sponsorship on your paragraph account, or so something like that. Maybe not that exact example. I think it's an interesting idea.
Yeah,
But because these aren't transferable, then all of these like economics questions about supply cap don't really factor in like at all.
Yeah, I'm excited about like what can be built like on top of this, and that's part of what I think is maybe that makes this a good example for journalists to look at is, if there are like other things that are built that we don't even like sanction or come up with that use the journo token, then it's kind of like shows its utility as like or just crypto in general and ERC20s as, permissionless and open, and it's kind of like an open API that everyone can use and can't be shut down. And like in the Web 2 world, there used like, I don't know if who here remembers or was around for it, but like the early 2000s was just like this huge expansion of like everyone had an API and they were all like open APIs, and you could get all sorts of like crazy data just from like these places or like have these internal workings. And they're like, yeah, let's throw an API on it. And it was awesome. But then, there's no business in just offering data for free to developers. So like, many of them just went away for various reasons. And, in the Web3 world, like if your API or your use is like contained in your token, which is kind of like what we're baking into this journo token, then it just persists beyond JournoDAO or anyone else, and anyone can come and be like, I hate journo token holders, like I'm gonna blacklist all journo token holders, or like stuff that's totally antithetical to what we want. But you can't have freedom without those people, I guess.
Nick, were you gonna say something before?
No, it's not really. I was going to ask if anyone here's ever heard of Demonoid, but I figured that was probably a long shot.
No.
Is it Web3 at all, or is it something else?
It was an old file sharing community. I think they're still around. The way they would do the referrals, they had like a semi-closed community where they would have periods where they'd be open to accepting new people, and the only way to get in was to have a referral through somebody else. And the way that you would do that is you would have like a seed ratio, so you'd have to upload as much as you download when you're doing file sharing stuff. It's got a very similar idea. Yeah.
Oh, now I do remember that. Yeah, I totally forgotten about that. That's cool.
The National Association of Science Writers does the same thing, and I find it like the most annoying thing in the world. Like, so it's like you have to get like 3 references and referrals from like existing members of the association. Like it's like, and then like once you get that, then they'll collect $500 from you.
Like your
You
money's
get to
no
pay
good to what point?
$500 after the referral. Wow.
I know, right?
I feel like
We're
that's
just all
similar to
super
like
cool.
certain union structures, though, getting like a sponsor and then paying dues. Right? I guess instead of a sponsor, you just get a number of referrals.
Yeah, you get a lot more value with a union membership than with an ASW, because then you pay I probably shouldn't be saying all this, but yeah, you pay your membership, and then, you know, that gives you the opportunity to pay to go to the conference. So, needless to say, I'm not a member in good standing.
This is you should have brought this up in that DSci spaces.
Well, I'm pretty psyched to see, you know, this up and working from almost end to end. And of course, the one of the gaps is getting the Stripe stuff up and working, which is on my plate and has not been moving forward as a result. But this is cool. Thank you, Keith.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not using the Yachtcopter Stripe for anything, so we could use it and move it over, but it seems cleaner just to like get JournoDAO's separate thing going.
Keep an eye on the Stripe stuff. I know it unlocked, I can't remember what it was. It might have been when they were doing one of the conferences and a lot of people were purchasing tickets and they were using Stripe. Stripe actually shut it down without giving notice to anybody. So if they notice any kind of weird stuff like that going on that they can't explain, you know, at the time they were trying to buy these tickets before they sold out, so it was a big deal. I think in our use case, it wouldn't be an issue because it wouldn't be time sensitive like that, but I would just keep an eye on that. So you might want to make sure that the Stripe that is attached to this is the Stripe that's also attached to the LLC.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they freeze it or boot us or whatever, but
yeah,
I don't know. It'll make an interesting story if they do.
Maybe have like the use case already up on the website so that, you know, they might not understand it, but it is legitimate and that it's not being used for, you know, value exchange or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Is there going to be any kind of like causal information flows between the LLC and the actual eventual token, like member token holder community, or is there going to be any kind of electing of officials within the LLC, or is the LLC just to like silo liability and just to comply?
TBD. I mean, it's up for us to discuss, I think. I mean, it's going to be hard. I mean, it's already hard, like getting a multi-sig, and that doesn't involve a bank or whatever. Now we want to like apply governance to a bank account. So it's like, I don't know if anyone's really done that successfully. It seems like that if you just keep digging, then there's always just some person who's trusted to like run the bank account and enact the DAO's wishes.
I mean, I know you can have multiple signatories for a bank account, but is there any format where that functions like a multi-sig where you can only make like withdrawals or deposits if multiple people agree to it? Is there any situation like that? I totally don't know.
You can require 2 signers on a check. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but then it's like the transfer from the wallet address to the individual is like the squishy part there, or the trust factor there. So it's like you can have multiple signatories on a bank account, but then you're still trusting, you know, so the DAO can vote that these addresses can do this, but then connecting those to people to bank account, whatever.
Okay.
Not ideal, but I think there's probably people working on that to varying degrees.
We just need androids that can be integrated with smart contracts to go into a bank.
On-chain human presence, yeah. Yeah, and I don't mean to be like flip or glib about any of this stuff. I just don't want this feels like something we should be able to do, and so I don't want to not do it based on all the things that could go wrong or whatever. I expect things to go wrong. All this stuff could happen. but it seems like if we don't do this, somebody will. And if it does work, if it is a good model, then we can get this out in the world and people can use it. And I don't know, might be a great way to generate funds that we can use to like make journalism better and actually execute our goals. So
I have a question. Are we set up for the multi-sig wallet already or not yet? Because in one of the DAOs I'm in, we use the Genosis Safe. And what we do, we do the voting. And then once it's approved, then the money goes through. And I don't know how y'all want to do this one. Or the tokens go through.
I think we're hoping to end up there. It's just like we're just baffled on like the next steps, I think, for that. Or I don't know, does anyone have a clear idea what the steps are there?
I think we voted on Snapshot, like where it's proposed to release this kind of money. And then once it's agreed on, whoever is, if there's like 3 over 5 voters on a Genosis Safe, as long as the 3 has agreed to release the money, then it gets released. And I can ask them what the back end would look like, but they never had a problem on the drops. So just DM me what you needed to know so I can ask them. We never had a problem. The drops always come to our wallet. So
Yeah, I think the roadblock is me, because I have like a half. I mean, so the first step was to get the LLC application, and I have like a 75% done LLC application and Stripe that just hasn't been completed. And there is some information I need from a few people on this call to complete it. And sooner or later, I'll be reaching out to ask for that. Just some, because you do have to have an actual date of birth and physical address, to be listed on, as one of the founding members of the LLC. So there's just some.
Oh, you don't have a date of birth? I'm sorry, buddy.
now, are you planning to apply in Wyoming, or where are you planning to apply your DAO?
We kind of went back and forth a little bit on the basically Delaware versus Wyoming, and landed on Delaware just because the Stripe system that's set up to do that is like super easy, and also super easy to change and amend in the future. And kind of the feedback I've received is that the Wyoming thing is really just kind of taking the Delaware program and saying it's also good for DAOs. So I don't know. There's a lot of opinions out there on that. But in terms of like the easiest way to get up and going, the quickest, the Stripe Delaware C Corp is kind of where we landed.
Okay, just wanted to ask. When I asked one of the founders that I'm in the DAO why he chose Wyoming, he said that the Delaware, I don't know if he said it was more expensive. Have you checked the pricing? And then you have the renewal part, I think is different from Wyoming, but I don't know if you've already checked that.
It was like, so what I recall, because Crystal, you had set up an LLC or something in
yeah,
Wyoming.
and 2 LLCs in Wyoming.
Yeah, and it was cheaper, if I recall.
Yeah.
But in terms of like being able to like sit down and do it in a couple hours, like on my computer, like I don't think we were able to do that. That's what I recall being there.
And there wasn't a whole lot of support systems with the Stripe system in Delaware. They have a lot more support infrastructure. The folks that I use in Wyoming, they're adorable, but it's just like some people in an office in a town in Wyoming. So there's like that, which I like for my businesses. They were super tiny, like craft businesses. So that made total sense. But for something like this, you do want more infrastructure in place. So I think that's why we decided to go with Stripe.
I was initially kind of sold on the Wyoming thing. Like, you know, I even have a good friend who we did a call with, who's the head of chief of staff for the governor of Wyoming. And so I was kind of sold on it until like it came time to sit down and actually do it. And it's like, oh, this other corporate thing is unfortunately way easier.
Yeah, I think when I initially did it, it wasn't with the little home business. When I initially set the LLCs up, I transferred them over to them as my registered agents. But when I initially did it, it was an online portal, and it was a more expensive setup than their initial one. So yeah, but I gotta run. I gotta go to another call. So
Thanks, Crystal.
bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Crystal. Bye.
See ya.
See ya, Crystal.
So I don't know if this is worth. Sorry, what were you saying, Keith?
I was just gonna say, I think the LLC and the multi-sig are unrelated. Like we could probably knock out the multi-sig in like 15 minutes, like separately, just establishing the multi-sig and then attaching like the JournoDAO.eth to it. I think is it within our power to do, but yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have that LLC before it, but I don't even know. They're not really connected, are they?
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Is the hang up for multisig just arbitrating like the initial members of it? Because I think I don't know if Gnosis even has functionality to have like a dynamic multisig for like if we're moving in the direction of liquid delegation and stuff. I mean, that would be really cool if you can somehow wire up a Gnosis safe to have like 5 slots reserved for whoever has the most delegated votes of a given token contract, but I don't know if there's anything like that available right now. It seems kind of fixed and static.
Yeah, I think it might be something that can be automated in the future, but I think right now you just basically get a majority of like this group of people to enact the will of the DAO or something. Or maybe it is all automated with some DAOs. I don't know.
I think the Zodiac expansion pack may allow for something like that, but I've never heard of a dynamic multi-sig.
I don't know about a dynamic multi-sig, but I know that there are a lot of projects doing DAO tooling that are building on top of Gnosis Safe as a layer 1. So there's kind of some buggy, tenuous ideas there, like Orca Protocol wants to use Gnosis and make something that's more flexible and customizable. I don't know how far along they are in that process, but there's a couple like that.
So something like some efforts like that may lead to like a tool that addresses what we're talking about, maybe.
When the ideal is that they should be able to, like, those tools want to try to be composable with each other. So they want to be able to stack DAO tooling on top of a layer 1 like Gnosis Safe. Although since Tornado Cash got sanctioned a week ago, I'm actually seriously wondering if Gnosis Safe is going to be next, because that would be that's the logical progression for me.
Just because that's the other, like the next most opaque thing from an on-chain analysis perspective.
Yeah, and I have no notion of what their compliance is like, but I know that Gnosis Safe would be my preferred method right now if I had a lot of money on Tornado Cash.
That would be wild.
And a lot of contracts picked up money that week. I did a video the day after the Tornado Cash sanctions hit, and I just looked at the Gnosis Safe multi-sigs and how much money they were pulling in, and it was a lot of money. A lot of new contracts.
That would be catastrophic if Gnosis got sanctioned somehow.
It would fuck the whole DAO community. Yeah. But
yeah,
that's the problem for later.
It would be unprecedented at this point too. Yeah.
I do think either way, like I don't think using Gnosis Safe is dangerous or anything.
Yeah, no,
but I am curious about that question, because that would be a very interesting thing to see happen.
Coin Center put out, I think it was Coin Center put out that statement. It was kind of funny. It was like basically laying out their grounds for a lawsuit and saying that they will probably maybe sue the Treasury Department, but they didn't file a suit. I mean, I suppose maybe they just wanted to get something out there as quick as possible while they're working to file the papers. But I thought it was pretty interesting because it was a very, did you guys see that? It was a very long explanation of why they think it was illegal or unconstitutional or whatever.
But actually, there's a longer form of that. Peter Van Valkenburg was at ZCon, Zcash's like privacy conference, I think in South Korea when that broke. So he did a impromptu talk there for like 30 minutes, and it's basically a longer version of what he published at Coin Center.
Yeah, you sent that. I think that video is in my queue.
I sent it. I spammed it everywhere. It's great.
Worth watching. Yeah, I watched it because you shared it. But I mean, actually, this Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, we're doing another Twitter space. Lobby 3, LexDAO, Sapien, and Pooley, the Pooley NFTs. We're doing a talk about potentially spinning up a DAO to fundraise either advocacy efforts relating to sanctioning code, like that intersection of open source code and developer liability and free speech, all that, and also potentially, this is still a big reach, I think, in my mind, but potentially funding kind of like a post sanctions, like sanctions compliant version of Tornado Cash. There's some ideas that were tossed around that would allow for like only non-sanctioned actors to interact with a certain protocol in a way that was like minimally dystopian. So that there could be interesting things that come out of that, but it's totally like risk-wise. Like I think there's a ton of considerations legally, logistically, like how are we going to be verifying the U.S. nationality of people that contribute to this, but it could be an interesting thing that comes out of this.
I think the flip side too is if I know that somebody has Tornado Cash interactions in their wallet and I send it to the Treasury Department, I should get a whistleblower fee that's a proportion of their wallet's balance. And I could just kill the whole industry overnight and just pillage the whole ecosystem. That's a seriously tempting thought. I've been struggling with that because somebody's going to try to do that. And it's probably going to be the centralized exchanges. If the enforcement ever comes, I don't know.
What is like a vigilante kind of bounty or a cut?
Yeah, and I don't know how frequently they actually pay out those, but it's an incentive model for people to basically, if someone's evading sanctions and you can spot it, you can go bounty hunting for people's funds, and if they can freeze them and recover them, you get to keep some. It's like 40% or something crazy.
Well, I mean, intelligence wise,
Can you give us a cut?
I mean, I could make like $1 billion tomorrow.
Can you give us a cut?
You could be a founder.
You'll never hear from me again.
Listen, just because you're that talented, you just gonna give us like that? You're gonna let go of us like that?
I'm gonna disappear because somebody's gonna come looking for that money.
Yeah.
Many people.
Yeah. The Internet Research Agency is going to dispatch an agent for you.
Just a chain of bounty hunters trying to out bounty each other to get up. Yeah. The idea of that much tainted funds around like floating around the market, I don't know what the hell is going to happen. But when this happened with Silk Road, the precedent that Treasury set was to force the exchanges to act like police officers on the internet, and they just seized everybody's shit, regardless of like whether or not those customers had any connection. They forced people to prove somehow, I don't know what the process was at the time, but they wanted you to prove basically, are you a drug supplier? It's kind of like the cannabis industry. They audit everyone that's, got questionable tax records within 7 years of the date that they legalize, so that if you have too much income that you can't declare because you're a black market cannabis grower, then you just don't get to be part of the new legalized industry.
Interesting.
Well, if you have to be able to freeze the funds, it sounds like you'd only be able to get 40% of the USDC or whatever like currencies because you can't actually like freeze the Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever.
No, but if you catch an account, like if you catch a centralized exchange account somewhere in the transaction tree, you can dox the account, and then if that account has a balance on it, or you wait for the account to have a high balance,
Mhm.
then notify the exchange like that hour, then they freeze it for 7 days, and then you got 7 days to collect it. Not that I've thought about this or anything.
Sounds like a plan. What are you still doing here?
I like to learn.
You're just enjoying your last interactions with people on the face of the planet before you have to like
You go to some gulag somewhere.
Yeah.
I sent I'll make this public because it's not new. In 2018, a guy named Tim Cotton, released an article where he took the Mueller report and doxed the GRU agents' Bitcoin addresses, just from the amounts of Bitcoin that had been published in that report. And I found that fascinating. Like, there's so much I don't know how to do, and learning how to do things like finding that transaction and looking through those histories, that's an amazingly cool thing. Like, there's definitely smarter people out there than me who can do more.
Hey, everybody, I gotta go.
Okay.
I wanted to bring up like metaverse newspapers, since Ryan and Spencer are both kind of tuned in to that world. I don't know, maybe that's something we can bring up on Twitter tomorrow, or otherwise save it for next week, because I struggle with how to like engage with that. But yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody. It was a good one. I'm going to sign off. I think Keith is still a co-host if people want to still hang out though.
Yeah, I gotta take off too.
Well,
See you
then,
guys next time. Is the Twitter tomorrow or Friday?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nick, it was
Bye.
nice knowing you. Bye, Amy.
Bye forever.
Bye.
All right, see you guys.